Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided.
This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy is sponsored by Thomson Reuters, providing legal professionals with the intelligence, technology, and human expertise they need to find trusted answers. Products include Westlaw, Practical Law, and Firm Central legal practice management software for small law firms. Thomson Reuters, the answer company. Online at thomsonreuters.com. Access to Democracy is made possible in part by a donation from Firefly Credit Union. Firefly is the new name of U.S. Federal Credit Union, which has proudly served the financial needs of the Greater Twin Cities community since 1925. At Firefly, we guide our members forward and give them the power to chase dreams by delivering the financial solutions they need to get ahead. From checking accounts to mortgages, we'll light the way. We are Firefly Credit Union, and this is Life Illuminated. And Dr. Charles Crutchfield of award-winning Crutchfield Dermatology in Eagan, acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. A Minnesota native who trained at the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Crutchfield personally treats all patients and states that experience counts and quality matters. Crutchfield Dermatology. Look good, feel great, with beautiful skin.
And welcome. Access to Democracy returns, and Alan Miller doing the interviewing today. We are here with the boss of the city of Eagan, Dave Osberg, who's in his third year.
3.5 years,
Three and a half
coming up
years
on 4
already
come March,
as the city administrator.
Yep.
And a lot of things have happened during your period of leadership here. And in fact, after you came in, very shortly after, the Twin Cities Outlet Mall opened. And I guess that was the first of a series of big events that we'll talk about.
I remember it, Alan, the groundbreaking for the Outlet Mall was, I think I started in March of 13, and I think the groundbreaking was some 3 months later. And little did I know how much would take place in the next 3.5 years or so, and it's been great to be a part of that.
Been an amazing growth spurt for the city, recognition on so many levels as one of the best places to live in the United States. We keep coming up on various different reviews, and they've all been great. So you followed Tom Hedges in here. And give us a little background before that. I know you came from Hastings.
Right, thanks, Alan. Yeah, prior to that, I was city administrator in Hastings, of course, the county seat here in Dakota County. Was there 24 years or so, and it was a great opportunity to serve as their city administrator, essentially raise my family. Lori and I did while we were in Hastings. Prior to that, I had done a 6-year term down in southern Minnesota as a city manager, and of course, I think part of the story of my return here in some respects to Eagan, had the good fortune of being one of Tom Hedges' interns. He had a great internship program when he was city administrator, and several years or so ago I served as his intern, and it was a great honor to be selected to fill that position when he retired.
Progressed right up the ladder.
Yeah, a few years in between, but yeah, it was a great experience years ago, and glad to be here as the administrator.
But you yourself, weren't you just last year the president of the League of Minnesota Cities?
My term ended in year and a half ago, we'll say June of what would it be, 2015 or so. So yeah,
which is certainly recognition by your peers of your qualifications and the job that you do.
It was a great honor to be a part of the as president of the League of Minnesota Cities, and it's a great organization. And then I served as past president for a year or so, and now I'm no longer on the board.
So let's talk about some of the other things that have happened here. We have the Outlet Mall, which has been going really
very well. I hear, yeah, great
and
reports.
In fact, I just was with some people who were over there for the first time. They spent an hour and a half, and they said, wow, what a terrific layout that place has. What a wonderful facility.
Yeah, well, it's a great facility, and then we've got there's development going on around there. We've had some housing units go up, apartment complexes. We're still hopeful for a hotel essentially on the same campus. So obviously the outlet mall is the main anchor, if you will, down in the Cedar Grove area, but there's a lot of activity going on in and around the outlet mall itself.
And of course, Jensen's, which is a fixture, just celebrated its 20th anniversary.
Great restaurant, great community leader, and it's been a great opportunity for the whole
Doran was
campus.
in here recently. Oddly enough, August 29th, which was the date of their 20th anniversary, happened to be Sharon and my 20th anniversry.
Did you go there for dinner?
And of course, we
Yeah,
celebrated
good for you.
it
That's a
at
good,
Jensen's. We're
good
frequently
tradition,
there,
perhaps.
and Doran is a great example.
He really is. Yeah.
Of keeping a facility on top of everything.
Yep.
And there's a big senior development that's right next door also, walking distance to the
Exactly,
outlet mall.
and the market rate apartment complex there. So it's the patience that the city council showed over the years is come to fruition, and it's a great campus down there with all things going on.
Going back to Pat Anderson, I think we've had great leadership in the city, not only in our choice of mayors, but in the council.
Well, and I think, Alan, and you've been a resident for a long time, one of the things I learned and was told early, that our city councils over the years have had great vision and great patience, and more times than not that pays off with great developments that are going on in Eagan, and certainly the mayors and councils have been strong leaders in that regard.
So we lost Pitney Bowes and their very large development at Pilot Knob and not Diffley, Yankee Doodle. But look at it today.
It's a week ago or so was the, if you will, the grand opening of Central Park Commons, and John Johansson, who's been the project lead, and Gary Holmes, the president and owner of CSM.
Who just was in here 2 weeks ago.
That's what
as a
I
matter of
heard,
fact.
and great visionary there on both of those accounts and all of their staffs. And we were talking earlier, there's just a bustle of activity that's going on there. Obviously, much construction, and of course, all the half a dozen stores that are open. I think the Sierra Trading Company opens on the 20th of October, and several stores thereafter.
And the Hy-Vee store, which is huge and is more than just a food store. I mean, it's a little bit of everything.
Oh, it's a restaurant. There you can all sorts of different types of food you can there. I had the cooking classes. Quite honestly, I went in there about a week ago on a Friday at about 5:30, and it was so crowded, and my wife and I were kind of in a hurry, and we said we're going to come back when we can kind of experience it, because it would have been a bit of a hustle for us that particular day.
Yeah, we happened to have occasion to eat in the restaurant the second night it was open. The restaurant is a very nice restaurant, moderately priced restaurant. And then we were late coming home from someplace earlier this week, and we went in, and Sharon went in one direction, I went in the other. We got ourselves dinner and went straight home.
Yeah,
Had this cooked dinner
everybody can be
already
happy
for us,
with what you might choose to buy there or cook, bring home and cook.
So another great plus. And as you say, the Sierra Trading Company is opening, and there's going to be a lot more in that complex also.
Yeah, a variety of kind of, not fast food, but fast dine-in sort of food in the middle of the campus, and then along Central Park Commons or Central Parkway and Pilot Knob down in that, the northeast corner. There's going to be a string of 3 or 4 restaurants, hopefully, with Tavern on Eagan being one of the first that they announced last week is planning to come here.
It's great. And then in another area of the city, Northwest Airlines is bought by Delta. And of course, they pledged they would stay here forever. They had a huge complex, which they closed down. And we said, now what are we going to do? Well, the city found something to do.
And again, I think it's a factor of the patience that our city, under the leadership of mayor and councils and staffs, August 2015, we get a call from the Minnesota Vikings saying we'd like to share with you our vision for the northeast part of Eagan, the Delta campus, as you alluded to, Alan. And we essentially went through, the balance of 2015 and much of 2016, working through all of the land use and environmental reviews, and it, in many respects, you could say it culminated in June of this year, June 21st, when the City Council gave all of the approvals in a preliminary fashion, if you will, which is a key milestone. And then actually at the council meeting on Tuesday, the 18th of October, we're scheduled to have the final approvals, and all intents and a lot of dirt has been turned out there. If one were to go out there now, they got a grading permit several months or so ago.
We're not talking about political campaigns. We're talking about actual
dirt.
dirt.
Yeah, literally dirt. Yeah, we'll leave that to the politicians here for another few weeks or so. But I would say by, early to mid-November, you'll start to see things that will come out of the ground beyond just dirt being turned. It's a very, very exciting project, and I think, Alan, you and others probably are aware, it's more than the Vikings headquarters. There's about 200 acres that is located that they've acquired in three different types of acquisitions. And it's only about, I shouldn't say only, but 45 acres or so is what is the Viking headquarters practice facility and practice fields. But another, we'll say 150 acres is going to be a variety of mixed uses, some yet to be determined. Of course, many may know that at the part of the ribbon groundbreaking back in early August, they announced a partnership with Twin City Orthopedic, so they'll have a major presence on the campus, and then the stadium that'll be located at the Vikings is going to be called
and many practice fields.
4 outdoor practice fields, a 6,000 seat stadium, and then an indoor practice facility that they can use during the winters and for kicking and whatnot, much bigger than, of course, they have at Winter Park right now.
And, of course, high schools will be using that facility, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of looking as the Vikings train for a season. And
that's been, if I might, Alan, one of the key points that the Vikings have shared with us. They want to do what kind of branded as Friday Night Lights, that a featured game on a Friday night be someone from the local area, and then the intent is for it to be broadcast on Viking TV, because they have a very strong Viking TV network that they want to even enhance even further and perhaps broadcast the game live on a Friday night. Saturday morning activities, perhaps with youth football, soccer, lacrosse, periodic maybe a college football game on that field. So their intent is to become very, if you will, open and let the public see all that is the Vikings. Of course, there's going to be certain things that are, if you will, private with the nature of the operations and practice facility or practicing, but they've been sharing with us many times that they want to be more open in the community.
And another great partner for the city. So
it's really been a great project, and obviously the best is yet to come once it opens in March of 2018.
Now, with all this, are there additional city jobs that are available?
City jobs?
Yeah.
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think they'll not necessarily employed by the city of Eagan, but there will be opportunities for folks to work somewhere along. They'll be opening perhaps somewhere on the campus or with the Twin City not outlet, but orthopedic, and then as the mixed use and retail and whatnot develops, certainly jobs there will be available for folks.
Well, can we bring up the photo that we have? And a surprise photo here. Now, this young lady is named Katie.
Okay.
And she has a donation for the city, but she would also like a title. And let me explain why.
Okay.
Katie is a Springer. She's a rescue. She's 4.5. She resides with the Millers most of the time when she's not chasing rabbits.
Is she in your chair, or is that her chair?
And she is. It's become her chair.
A little of both, yeah.
It's become her chair. It used to be my chair. Well, Katie and I like to walk in different parks, but we're very, very close to the Lexington Diffley athletic field. So we do a lot of walking there, and also at the baseball fields at Goat Hill.
Okay.
Katie is very sharp and has a very good sense of smell. And the reason that she would like a title is as we walk through, and this is her gift to the city.
She found that? Or
We keep finding.
foul balls, home runs?
And when I say we, it's Katie. She insisted that I bring these in here today.
All right.
And we're going to turn them over as gifts to the city.
Are you sure she's okay with that? You might be taking some of her toys, although she could probably find more, huh?
Oh. In fact, I'll show you something she found yesterday. I can't tell you how many times she heads for a spot, and sure enough,
Those are some good baseballs. Some
there's
of them are
some
in
very
pretty
good
shape.
baseballs. That's why we're turning them back. This is just from about 3 months this summer.
This one's a really good one.
Yeah. Here's another really good
Yeah.
one. And she wants to turn these back to the city.
Well, I'll turn them over to our Parks Department, and maybe
for our
they can
use
find...
of our teams. Now, being an equal opportunity Springer, she also
softball,
has
huh?
found some softballs. and we're happy to give all these to you in behalf of
Well, I
Katie.
appreciate that, and
But she thought she should have a title to go along with what she has found here. So
well,
you may
I'm
have
not.
that.
Maybe collaboratively we can think of an appropriate title. I don't know what that.
Now, yesterday, she found, and we've found many of these also.
golf ball, yeah.
Even though golf is not supposed to be played there, our next door neighbor is a golfer, so
right.
she thinks this is a shrunken.
Well, hopefully she's got some at
shrunken
home,
baseball.
something to play with when she
has-
wakes up from her
She has
slumber out of
plenty
your
of things
chair.
to play with, but not City of Eagan baseballs. And
That's great. Well, you tell
this
her.
will be returned to our neighbor next door.
You know who it goes to?
Well, no.
Good.
He would
Oh,
not
he's a
go-
golfer, but
Yeah, he would not go back there and shoot golf balls because you're not supposed to. But he's a good guy, so we've given him quite a few golf balls.
you haven't
over-
solved the
over
Twins
the year.
dilemma that they had this year, have you?
We
That
haven't solved the Twins dilemma yet,
That was-
but it's
that was
going to take more than baseballs.
Yeah.
But
There might have
we
been
have a-
9 of these in the outfield and target field with home runs. Other
could have
teams
been,
hit this
could
year.
have been. So,
Well, thank you. You'll have to pass that on too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a gift from Katie.
I'll bring those down to Andrew next week and see if they can find a use for them.
Now, there was a time when you were in Hastings that you were also the football commentator.
It was a very fun time, Alan, for the local radio station KDWA broadcasts every Friday night the Hastings High School football games, and I had the good fortune for 8 years to be the color commentator. Nick Tuckner was the play-by-play person, and I had to come up with about 8 seconds worth of sort of commentary about the previous play, and it was a lot of fun to do. It was in some respects the travel to the games or before the game was as much fun as the game, because Nick and I had become, and we still are, pretty good friends, and I football is probably my favorite sport, so it was kind of
Having the Vikings
Yeah.
on your doorstep
I
can't
got
hurt
paid to
then.
talk about football, so it was kind of the best of both worlds. So yeah, now the Vikings coming.
Are you still doing that, or have you
I am not
retired
doing
from
that. I did it for the first year here after we moved to Eagan. I went back on Friday nights to the games, and then they've since found someone else to do it. And it was a lot of great fun and all, but you basically had to commit to 8 to 9 different Fridays in a row in the fall. And my wife and I would periodically go see my son in Milwaukee or whatnot. So it freed up the weekends, but it was during the time my kids were in school. It was a very fun thing to do.
Now, in addition to some of the building that we've talked about and the expansion, we're in the middle of getting a new firehouse, a rather large facility on Diffley.
Yeah, Diffley and Diffley Blackhawk and Highway 35E or so. Yeah, one of the things Chief Scott has been great at is good vision on how we can consolidate our fire stations down from what will hopefully become, or now 5 down to 3 when it opens. We're, as many have maybe read here in Eagan, as well as frankly across the state and the whole country, is the ability to attract what we had called, and in some respects still do call, volunteer firefighters has become a bit of a problem. So what we're trying to do is have more or fewer fire stations or so, and have people kind of stationed, if you will, throughout the city where it's most appropriate and timely, and obviously getting off on 35E gives them a place to go. But it is, and then now we're trying to find usages for some of the fire stations as they close, and we're still trying to work out arrangements on exactly what we'll do with what we call the fire administration building that's across the street from the current city hall.
Now, we also have a great dog park, but Katie prefers the challenges that are offered. Less
Yeah, I don't.
than
Hopefully, we don't find things like this in our dog park. This is kind of fun.
I travel every jacket that I have, every pair of pants, with plastic bags and treats. Because she knows,
I know.
She knows if she does what she's supposed to do, she gets a treat, and then it gets picked up with a plastic bag. And I will say that the service of maintaining all these parks has been just terrific.
And I thank you, Alan, and I'll pass that on to our staff. We have a great park and rec staff, as well as, frankly, throughout the entire city, if I might. That's been one of the nice things that people have shared with us, and in particularly as it relates to the projects we just talked about. Central Park Commons, at that grand opening last week, they were very complimentary of the city and being able to work through some difficult parts of the process, and then working with the Viking staff over the last year or so. We haven't always agreed, and that we've had to kind of some fits and starts every now and then, but they were always very complimentary of the staff that they talked with.
But that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Being able to talk and compromise. I wish that we'd have more of that on a political level, statewide and nationally, where we could talk and see something accomplished, because you can see that it can be done.
Right.
Much the same as you can see that a public-private partnership such as this TV station, which benefits both Thomson Reuters and the city, is an accomplishment that few cities have, and we have shown over 4 years now how it works and how beneficial it is.
That's a great example, Alan. And you know what we try to do too is we share with the developers who come in what our process is, and while they may not agree with it, if we tell them at the start, this is how you're going to get to the end of the line, if you will, and if we don't change it in between, they may not like it, and it may take a little longer, or be some different things that come up. But by and large, when you tell them this is how we'll get you there, and this is the means to get it, and treat people like professionals and cordial throughout the process.
And it gets done.
Exactly, and several examples throughout Eagan that we talked about that illustrate
There was recently a large article in one of the two major papers, I think it might have been the Star Tribune, but calling Eagan the new retail powerhouse. The fact of the matter is, Eagan is much more than that. And we've talked about it in the past, not you and I, but in years past with Tom Hedges, how we have a large commercial area, trucking companies and things like that, up in the northern portion. We have wonderful housing, both apartments, senior citizen, and individual homes. And now with these new complexes, yes, we are a retail powerhouse, but we are a lot more.
Exactly. If you think about two of the other projects that have located or under construction here in Eagan, Summit Orthopedics has a major, I think it's about a 75,000 square foot complex going in at Lone Oak and 494 Pilot Knob area that's under construction as we speak. And then I think it was, a year and a half or so ago when Data Bank opened there on Lexington and Yankee Doodle area. And those are big assets to have in our community. So, yeah, while we've got a recent onslaught of retail, there's much more going on, and it's still a major attractive place to live in the Twin Cities area.
But with all this, the tax rate in Eagan exceeds, and by exceeds I mean is better than a lot of companion cities.
Right, and then again that our city council gives us as a staff a great deal of latitude with direction on managing the budget and the impact that'll have on taxes, and they're very cognizant of to your point, Alan, keeping those at levels that make us competitive. You take the combination of the city taxes along with county and whatever school district one might live in, and it's a pretty competitive rate when you look at the bottom line, whether you're a business or a resident in Eagan.
In the couple of minutes that we have left,
Sure.
We can talk about other things. Capone Art Park is now part of the city.
Right. Capone Art Park. The other thing, Alan, we're also working to maybe give some. There's a new Artworks of Eagan that's just got its nonprofit status. We're talking with them about possibly using the fire administration building that we talked about a few minutes or so ago. And some of those are spin-offs, if you will, of the Eagan Forward project that we
And we
worked
have
on.
a really aggressive farmers market with a lot of wares being, not just vegetables, that it's shown once a week.
Market Fest, yeah.
And Market Fest.
We
And
had a great food truck festival back
how
in
about,
mid-September.
how about July Fun Fest?
Fun Fest, that there was some talk that would no longer continue, but we got a
Looks like it's been salvaged.
exactly. We've got a smaller group of volunteers that are staying on and
As a
soliciting
matter
other
of fact, I sent them an email saying, we'd be happy to pitch it here on Access to Democracy. I haven't heard back from
Okay,
them.
well, I can pass that on when I see other
if you
folks.
want to, because we'd be happy to.
Yep.
It comes down to volunteers.
Right.
Everything comes down to volunteers. This comes down to volunteers,
Exactly.
and hard to come by. But
It's a
anybody
great
who's
event every-
interested in volunteering for Access to Democracy, we train you and you become a professional. Our internet connections are super.
Yep, Access Eagan. You're right, Alan. There's really a lot of great things that are going on here in Eagan, both the city of Eagan, but just the community as a whole. And I think that's a great testament to many people who have had a lot of great work over the years.
And Eagan, in your personal history, goes back a ways. I'll take you back to 1983, where you were here in Eagan with a young lady named Lori.
Yes.
And what happened?
And she still kind of, I'm glad she said yes, because the proposal at her townhouse that she lived in with 3 other ladies at the time off of Denmark, Timbershore Lane, was, it was clumsy but effective, as I'm forever thankful that she said yes, because 32 and a half years later and 4 kids later, I think we've done pretty well.
Dave Osberg, City Administrator, City of Eagan, really thank you for coming in and sharing with us, and come back often.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate being
these to
back.
good use. Regards
I
from
can't wait
Katie.
to bring him in. Yes. Thank you, Katie.
Democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy is sponsored by Thomson Reuters, providing legal